Hello, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the pool party. I hope you can swim because we're definitely diving into the deep end with a huge splash of truth, facts, evidence, information, and proof. Swim. Say what you mean. It's talk about talking. How we listen, how we hear, how we speak, how we hear what we're listening to when we speak, how a listener hears what we're saying, if what we're saying, what they're actually hearing and or understanding. Is it clear? Swim. Say what you mean. Well, that's just the beginning of understanding, because after we get that understanding, how do we accept it? How we respond if it's not what we expect is paramount. Are you okay with the truth? Are you man, woman, human, or spiritual enough to accept the truth? Let's find out. Welcome to The Swimming Pool with your host, Travis Bridges.
Hey everybody, how you doing, my friends? Here's hoping you are having a fantastic Wednesday evening, and welcome to The Swimming Pool. It's SWYM. That, my friend, is the acronym for Say What You Mean. Do you say what you mean? Do you mean what you say? Well, if you haven't, this would be a good day to start. It's very important. You want to know why? Because oftentimes things get lost in transaction or transition or translation. So you want to just remember to think sometimes. This is what I was told. Think sometimes before you speak. That's good advice for anybody, especially me, especially now in this season. Well, here's hoping you've had a few good days for the beginning of the week. And if you can make it through midnight tonight, you will have only 2 days left before the weekend, baby. Everybody gets excited about the weekend, I guess. You know, for me, it's like more work, and I don't mind work because I was once told as a kid, if you find something you like to do, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, my background is in radio, and from my Hollywood home studio, I write script, I produce voiceovers and audio, radio commercials, audio for TV, and stuff like that right there. And I'm also a musician. On the weekends, I get out with my saxophone and I play a variety of venues and events. And people like it. And they share with me as I share with them. Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? And the other 5.5 people that are with me tonight. I've got some good stuff on the way. The topic is the right to choice/choose. Ask yourself, is there a difference between a choice and choosing? Maybe. Think about it for a moment. I have 2 guests that are lined up, and it's pretty interesting, I must say. I spent quite a bit of the day, preparing and getting ready for it, and I hope you do indeed enjoy it. I want to tell you a couple of experiences that I had. The first one was yesterday, and the second one was today. I was out at the park getting my walk on, and I saw a lady with a t-shirt, and it said, "Trust no one." And as I passed by her, I could see it, and as she got closer, I said, "Even me?" And she goes, "What?" I said, "Even me?" And she goes, "What you talking, man?" I said, "Your t-shirt, you said trust no one, even me." She said, "Oh no, honey, no, I don't trust no one. I don't trust nobody but God." And I said, "Wow, you don't trust anybody?" She said, "No." I said, "Well, why?" "Just because I don't." I said, "Why though? Why you don't trust anybody?" She said, "No, I don't. Nobody but God." And I kept saying, "But why?" She said, and she kept going like this. And then finally she said, "Well, because of my salvation." And I said, "What do you mean?" And then she just kind of walked off, and I was like, okay, I guess I had no business sticking my nose in her business. So she went on. But as she went on, I'm a big tough guy, but sometimes I let too many unnecessary things bother me. And I started to think about it, and I was like, this lady doesn't trust anybody? What kind of life is that to live? My problem is I trust people too much. But that's another story. And I just thought about it. My oldest brother told me one time, he said, the punishment for a liar and a thief is that they don't trust anybody. And it took me a while to get that, but I finally got it. You know, when you live your life, not trusting, you just don't trust people. Of course, if you have bad experiences and you definitely have a situation where, been maybe burned by someone, that's a good reason, to keep your thinking cap on and don't let somebody get the best of you again. But to just walk around with a t-shirt that says trust no one and then live that as a life, that must be miserable. So you know what I did? I just said, Heavenly Father, if it's your will, and if what she's doing, just because it isn't the way I think, open my eyes if they need to be open, or open hers if they need to be open. So yeah, I went into prayer mode, but I just thought it was weird, and I just thought I'd share it with you. There's nothing wrong with that's how she feels. For whatever reason, I guess I can be cool with it. Second experience was today. I was in the grocery store. It's not the supermarket or the grocery store. Where I'm from, we call it the grocery store. And I was in there today, and I noticed they had these BOGOs, buy one, get one free. And they had so many items up front, and they were really pretty good deals, And I was like, that's what's up, man. Let me get a couple of these and maybe a couple of those. And I'm like, okay, I don't need this. I'll put that back. Then I got around the corner, and I saw another one. And it said, buy one, get one free. And I picked up one of the items, and I looked at it. And one was the price of two. And I said, what? Man, I don't know if they were trying to get somebody, but I just kind of felt some type of way, and I figured I couldn't do anything about it. Maybe it was the right price. And then I guess when I thought about it, I said, this price I can pay this and then get one for free. But if you're buying two, it's not the same. It was just one of those things that I could clearly see was marked up just a little bit, just to kind of slide in with the BOGO. And I just kind of caught that, and I thought I'd share it with you. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to break, and I'm going to come back from the break. And when I come back from the break, I'm going to put my first caller on. And then after that, I'm going to take another short break, and then I'm going to put my second caller on. Do me a small favor. If you'd like for me to talk about something, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor, or anything like that. I just kind of sort of like to talk. I'm somewhat of a loner, and it's kind of therapy for me to just talk about things. And, when I meet people that like to talk, most of the times it works out pretty good when I engage in communication. So I'd like to talk to you about a subject, or a subject that I could just talk about. Travis Bridges 2 at AOL.com. That's Travis Bridges and the number 2 at AOL.com. Okay, let's see. Let me get this thing riled up. I'm going to go to breakity break. And then when I come back from the break, I'm going to do just as I said. I'm going to hit it with my callers. Okay, hold the spot you got. I'll be right back.
The Swimming Pool with Travis Bridges is a talk segment about talking. Talk about talking? Yes, talk about talking. It's designed to bring awareness to how we listen, how we hear, and what we do with the information we receive during communication. The mind is automatically programmed to protect the body and soul. It displays that through each and every encounter we experience. If any part of the body is threatened, the mind will automatically issue the flight command. The flight command to retreat to safety. Well, that same command is also deployed when our ego is threatened. The ego, yes, the ego. It's so natural and common, it happens oftentimes without us even knowing. Engaging in conversation and staying focused on what is present is considered mental fitness. It strengthens our emotions and helps us to gain control of our circumstances instead of having our circumstances overtake our thinking and our very existence. It's a difficult task to achieve because our feelings, beliefs, and desires are so strong that it causes us to totally disregard even the most common or basic reasoning. This live stream is only here to bring awareness to that subconscious process. Nothing or no one is actually wrong. However, the idea of being open to anything outside of what we've already concluded is golden, especially if the new information is transparent. The Swim developers would like to say thanks for supporting, watching, listening, and sharing this information. Now, back to the swimming pool. Let's dive in and swim.
Hello. Hey, man.
Okay.
Yeah, we live
We live?
right now.
All right. Well, there's nothing like being live.
I know. Well, let's get on into it because I promise
right.
you I'm going to keep you for 29 minutes and 59 seconds. Not a second
29
over.
Not a second over. All
What
right.
I'm going to talk about right now is going to be heavy and it's deep. I'm a little nervous about it because it's borderline controversial, but it might even be safe because everybody's talking about it. It's just that I'm going to put my little 2 cents in. But before I put my 2 cents in, just like all of my guests, I like to tell them what the subject is going to be. And then after I tell them, I want to get their opinion. And then we'll discuss different parts of their opinion, or in this case, your opinion. And then I'll give my spiel and then we can just keep it moving. It's just talk about talking. And nothing is right or wrong. Nothing is good or bad. It's all just talk. We're trying to get a different and a better understanding of what it is we think we already know. You okay with that?
I am okay with that.
Okay. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you very well.
Okay. Well, the subject has been in the news very much lately, and it is the overturning of Roe versus Wade. Have you been hearing about it?
I have heard about it. Yes, I have.
Okay. Well, it's a very old, situation that passed a very long time ago. And it's definitely one of those things that nobody thought could be touched, totally untouchable. And now that it is up for grabs, it looks like it's going to be overturned. People are nervous. People are upset. People are mad. Some people are happy. And I have my opinion about it, and that's all it is. It's just, I don't even want to call it an opinion. I got in trouble about giving my opinion. You're supposed to, from what I understand, you're only supposed to give your opinion if you're an expert. So I'm going to scratch that from the record. I'm just going to give my thoughts about it. I'm just going to talk about it. How about that?
That sounds great.
But before I do, is this a subject you're comfortable with or no?
I am.
Okay. So the right for a woman to choose what happens with her body, just that question alone. Should a woman of age have the right to decide what happens with her body, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Should a woman have the right to have an abortion for any reason, yes or no?
Yes.
Ooh. Should anyone have anything to say to a woman in regards to having an abortion at any time for any reason? And should there be a law to govern that, yes or no?
The first part, yes. The second part, no.
Okay. Well, I would like for you to tell me, why should a woman have the right to choose an abortion at any time for any reason? I want your explanation of that.
Well, we're like anything, we do have a matter of choice, whether it's right or wrong. okay, we do have the right to make a choice for our own lives. Okay, I do believe that. Okay, we do have the right to choose, and it's pretty much left up to us, up to you. It's just like if you cut your finger and you chose to put a Band-Aid on it, do you have a right to do it? Yes, you do. Okay, but if you don't put the Band-Aid on it, do you have are there other options to live with? Yes, it is. Okay, so the right to choose, okay, I think should be given to anybody, whether it's right or wrong. Okay, now once we choose things like that, then we have to be willing to live with the consequences. Okay, that comes along with it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now you said something that really stood out. You said we should have the right to choose something that affect our lives. Okay, that just stood out and grabbed me by the throat and started choking me until I pushed it off just now. So when you say our lives, when we're talking about an abortion, we're not just talking about our lives. We're talking about the life that's connected to us if we are a woman that's pregnant and considering terminating a pregnancy. So when you say our lives, I guess I can get with you on that. But does it matter for the unborn fetus?
But the fetus in this case doesn't have a choice. The fetus didn't choose to be here. Okay, so the fetus does not have a choice. All right, and though it's a terrible thing to say, the fetus is not in a position to choose. The person that is toting the fetus is not saying that they're right. Okay, not saying that they're right in choosing to terminate the fetus. Not saying that right, but they do have the choice. Okay, the choice to live with it. The choice to live with it. When we look at the circumstances that pertains to personal lives, okay, to personal lives, yes, no matter how grievous it may be to someone else, how honorable it may be to someone else, the person that's making the choice has that right. Okay, whether it's a good one or a bad one, they just have to live with it.
Okay, I definitely got that. I got that point, and I'm going to agree with you on that. But you said something that stood out. You said our lives. An unborn fetus isn't necessarily our lives. We're talking about if we were women, and we're talking about women. When you say our lives, you're talking about women. But an unborn fetus, is the start of a life already, and we're making a decision for that life. Does that life have the right to live? Yes or no?
Does the fetus have the right to live?
Mm-hmm. Or no. That's kind of a trick question. Should the rights for that fetus to live be protected? How about that?
Now that's a tough question right there. That is a tough question. Okay, I'm not one to say that I believe in abortion, but I will accept it. Okay, as a person's choice. Okay, choice. All right. Does a fetus have a right to live? That is a tough question. It's the fetus.
Okay, that's why I changed it. I changed the question. You're right. It is a very tough question. Here's the new question: does the fetus deserve? I'll even say that deserve to have someone fight for its life for its life.
Yes.
Okay. So then I'm not understanding how it's even accepted or how it's even anything other than a flat out no in support of terminating a pregnancy when the fetus deserves the opportunity to have its right fought for. How is it not just like a flat out no?
Well, there's the thought. There's the thought of the because before the and I'll say this. I'll say this in support of the fetus. Okay, in support of the fetus. Okay, it doesn't ask to come. It doesn't ask to be terminated. It doesn't speak for itself. However, okay, during the course, okay, of intervention or relation, if it should come out to be, okay, then I think it deserves a right to live. However, and I do believe that in that case, it does, because it's a life, irregardless to whether it's wanted or unwanted. Okay, whether it's wanted or unwanted, it deserves a right to live. Okay, because everything, the ants on the ground, the animals, they deserve a right to live. So it's no different than the fetus. Okay. However,
hey, I want to hear you say that when you eating a piece of bacon next week. That's not funny. I just thought I'd make light because I'm laughing to keep from crying. But go ahead.
Animals are here for more than one reason. Okay, for more than one reason. Some of them are pets.
Oh my goodness.
Some of them are part of our agricultural system, and yes, some taste real good during breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. Let's don't compare the children to the animals. But anyway, I get your point.
No. Everything. God has made all things. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 7, 3 and verse 11 or 15. He says He has made all things beautiful in its time and in its kind. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Of course, we can't eat it. We can't eat a fetus, a human. We can't eat them. Some now an animal could eat a human, just like humans eat animals. Okay. But in their own right, as a fetus, a human being. Okay. I do say, and I do support. Okay, I do support the right. I do support for the fetus, the unborn fetus. I do support that. I think that is fair.
Okay. Well, it's hard to hear that when I hear other people. People say they support the right to choose. But then when you break it down and you think about, the fetus, it's like, okay, how can a woman have the right to choose, but then the fetus have the right to to live a life? I don't understand that.
Well, let's put it in this perspective. Say that, and only this case, I think this case speaks for itself. Okay? If a woman is violated unrighteously, okay, if that means if she's assaulted, okay, and from that assault, she becomes pregnant. She has to deal with the assault and that came from the assault. I think those are two different traumas to deal with. In that case, okay, as much as I support the life of the fetus. Does that woman have a right to terminate? She was assaulted. She had a right to safety, not to be assaulted. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And now there are some women out there that are faced with situations where they're not being approached, and they would welcome an opportunity to raise a fetus like that. But then there are some that may deal with it another way, and rather than giving up for abortion, that is another option. I think should be looked into. Him saying, but then for a woman to go through the birthing process and then give that baby up, I think it would be harder for her. Okay, even if especially if she's been assaulted. Okay, and assaulted. And then she goes, she goes to the tenure with the child, chooses to deliver. I think it'll be harder for her to give it up for adoption at that point than to keep it. And I think she deserves a choice in that matter. And I think also the fetus deserves to live too.
Okay, well, I heard a lot in listening to you. I heard good, bad, and just a little bit of ugly. For the sake of time, say it again.
That's a tough situation, right? That is a tough call.
Sure it is. There's so many other tough calls.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to go down. We haven't heard the last of this. You know what I'm saying? I think if it's overturned this round, come later, it's going to be overturned again.
Okay. Well, it brings me now to me giving you, my spiel, and thank you so much for sharing. And mine is going to take a little longer. I am going to go down the middle, and I can say I will not say I support either side, because I can relate to both sides. So to say I am in favor of one or the other, it is very difficult for me to even say it, but I'm going to speak on it because I do believe that at conception is when life starts, as far as I'm concerned, based on my intelligence. Is it conception or inception? Conception. Conception. Life starts at conception. So with that being said, I think when a child has started to grow, that is life. And I think that child should have the right, to at least be fought for, its life being saved, as a human being as it relates to humanity. However, I can understand, just as you said, you named one of many, situations where I can see the side of a woman in particular having that choice as it relates to her choice in her body. If there's birth defects that can be detected, sooner, if her life is been threatened, from a medical perspective. And again, if she has had a situation where she's been violated as such, and that should be maybe a choice. So I can see that side, and I can also see the other side. What I'm going to say in addition to that is there must be the word that I don't like to use, but if there was ever going to be a chance or an opportunity for me to use it, I'm going to use it now. And that word starts with a C, and it's called compromise. As a people, as a society, we've got to be realistic and reasonable when it comes to telling a woman or anybody what they can and cannot do with their own body. I totally respect that, and I see why, Roe versus Wade, ruled as it did when it did back in the day. But I can also see how, an unborn fetus should have the right to live, and how for certain that abortion should not be a method of birth control. So with that being said, I really think that we ought to find a way to consider all the ways that we could compromise birth defects, women whose life, women who has a whose life could be threatened, by going through with a pregnancy, and definitely women who have been violated, for that to be their choice. Those are areas that maybe should be on the table. As a right for birth control, probably not. Abortions, in late stages, probably not also. And we've got to find a way to be reasonable when it comes to that. Just to say, no, it's just wrong, and then no, yes, it is just right, is pretty harsh on both sides. So overturning, Roe versus Wade will be rather extreme, just like it was an extreme, to pass it the way it has been over the past, years. So I think in closing, the big deal would be, I can see both sides. I can say I respect both sides, but I think, the answer would be to compromise. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I hope you have something to say, because I don't have anything more to say. I'm not going to say I support either side. And for any women that are listening, I'm not against you having the right to choose. As a matter of fact, I think anybody, man or woman, should in that case have the right to choose. That's definitely another conversation on another topic altogether, especially when it comes to men and that right to choose, so to speak. But with that being said, I can see both sides. I respect, the importance of everyone who has an opinion, whether they are for it and or against it. But I think the answer will be compromise. It doesn't mean compromise, for right or for wrong, but to compromise just to find a place to reason and settle this. So thank you for listening.
Yes, I concur with you. I think compromise is a better word for it. It gives us the opportunity to see into every situation. It is a tough decision. It is a tough decision, but and I don't think we've seen the end of it. Okay, I think as generations change, we're going to see this go up and down. That all depends on who's leading in the legal perspective. They're going to do something to take the attention away from people, but the right to choose and the word compromise, I think they go together. And I think they're suited well. And with that, yes, I sort of agree with you on that one. I think it's a better word,
right,
than support. Because support, the support says you're for one and you're against the other. Okay, so I do stand corrected in that. I do think that there should be a compromising opportunity for it to be looked at, and then it should be gone forth, because in this nation, in this time, this world that we're living in, we're faced with a lot of things, and this is just one of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm going to do, because we do have about 8 more minutes left, and I want to use them up. I just made a comment about, just not just women, but men too. And without going deep into it, because maybe I'll have a live stream on this whole topic, separate, because I definitely can't put them together. But I saw something today on a news feed. I think it was one of those that I was scrolling through my phone, and I saw something, and it just baffled me, if I didn't even know what that word means. And let me tell you what happened. I want your opinion on it, then we can hit the back door and get out of here. So I heard there was a case, a court case, where a man had spent 5 years in prison for not paying child support. And after the 5 years were up, he was in court again for another situation with the woman or his wife. I don't even know. But, the focus was on the fact that a man had spent 5 years in prison for not paying child support. And the woman who accused him of the child being his, was there. And then they read the result of whether or not he was the actual father. And of course, it ended up that he was not the father. And this man had spent 5 years in prison for not paying child support. And then the woman went on to say that she did know who the father was, and that she was still in contact with whoever this man was. Now, you've got about 4.5 minutes to tell me, what do you think about that situation?
I think that's a tough situation right there for the brother to be locked up for something that he did not do, for something that was not his. And I do think that the law should be held, because you can't if they didn't properly get identified whether that child was his or not, then the law ought to be held at hand, not the woman, but the law. Okay, the law, because the woman went to the law to seek assistance from this man. If the law should have proven before they locked him up that child was his. So I think the law should be held as responsible.
And absolutely nothing should happen to her. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Nothing should happen to her. She went to the law for help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the law was supposed to help her, so that makes the law responsible. The woman didn't lock him up. The law did.
Okay. What I want to say to you, I can't say on this live stream. So I'm going to go ahead and end ours, and then I want you to stay on the line, because I want to tell you what I think about you saying absolutely nothing should happen to her. And I don't want my audience to hear that right now. So I'm going to go off record, and I'm going to let you go. And then I'm going to keep you on the phone so that I can keep my live stream a family show and keep it clean. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you, man. This was a good one. It was a tough subject, and I appreciate your participation, and look forward to doing it with you another time in the very near future.
Sounds good.
All right. 10-4.
10-4.
Mighty Horn Music. Smooth jazz, top 40, R&B, inspirationals, and more. Live from the Hollywood Home Studio. Like, share, subscribe. And thanks for tuning in.
Hello.
Man, I had a time getting you on this phone. What's up with that?
I don't know, but my phone wasn't ringing. I think you were dialing the wrong number.
It's possible. Or you know what? I've got your number canned in my my studio line, and I think since I switched carriers, it probably isn't seeing it. But that's good though. Now I have something I can check on. Anyway, okay. I don't want to hold you long. I really want to get right into this. This is going to be major. I just had another guest. It was very interesting, and I'm going to do something different. This time, I'm going to start off with the last thing we talked about, and then I'm going to get into my topic. And unlike him, you kind of have an idea of the topic. So I'm going to kind of hit you with from the blind side with this before we get into it. But I promise you, I'm going to keep us on schedule. So let me make sure. Okay, we're going to start officially now, so I can watch out. Anyway, I'm going to hold off on the topic. I want to ask you about a scenario. I was watching something while scrolling through my phone. It was one of those social media things that just pop up on your phone when you're trying to go do something else. But it caught my attention because of the subscriber that I was subscribed to. I watch this person's stuff, so it's like, okay, let me see what they got now. Well, it was a clip of a man who was at a court hearing, and he was about to find out if he was the father of the child that his wife or the lady that was there was saying that he was the father of. Now, mind you, before this hearing, he had spent 5 years in prison because of back child support or non-child support. And he had gotten out, and I guess this was, part of the deal to find out if he was the actual father. And they read the results, and he was not the father. And he had spent 5 years in prison. Now, I want to tell you what my last guest said, but I want you to tell me, first of all, what do you think of that scenario? And then I want to ask you 2 other questions.
Well, it's kind of alarming that if a person, well, I don't know if she knew that he was the father, really thought he was the father, but that's a shame that someone had to spend time in prison, do 5 years for a child that's not even his.
So your response is it's just a shame? Okay.
Well, it's
a shame. Oh, that's such a shame.
No, it is. It is a shame because now here you are. You've wasted 5 years of your time. Well, not only that, but even the time that he could have developed a relationship. I don't know what age he was when the
boy seemed like either a teenager or in his early 20s at this time.
So he was a young teenager when his supposedly father.
I'm going to say the boy was anywhere between 17 and 21 around that time.
Okay.
No. During the hearing, that's what he appeared to be. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Well, what I'm looking at is you spent time with this child. Okay, say the first 6-7 years of his life, you was his father. That's all he knew was his father. And now, whatever happened between the mother and him, whatever, and he didn't pay child support or however it happened, he ended up in jail. He has spent 5 years of his life. 5 years is a long time for a child that's not even his. And I know that we have to forgive and all that kind of stuff, but it's hard when you look at somebody that has accused you and went to the extremes that she did. I know that man have to have some hurt behind all of that. He has to be hurt, and he needs healing. That's not easy.
Well, tell me what does she need? What does the woman need?
Don't. She need that behind whip. I'm sorry. I should have said.
All right, but you know it happens all the
But
time.
it's not fair. It happens all the time. It does.
Of course it happens all
more
the time.
yeah.
You know what? Not only just that, it's amazing that, I this would be happening in this season, and I didn't plan this. But, when people accuse you of stuff, you go through the ringer because of what they accuse you of. And then, when the truth comes out, all they get is like, okay, well, whatever. It's just what we thought, and we were able to put you through all of this stuff, while you went through the suffering of, having to go through, I guess it's called mental anguish, if that's for lack of a better word. And it's amazing. That happens, man. I think I'm being called, to start that ministry of, people who falsely accuse people, and then they just get a slap on the wrist, just because it's an experiment for them. It's to see what they can get out of it, or to see if whatever they throw against the wall will stick. Just like her, she got child support and she got whatever she could get. And then, in the end, and then what she said there was that the judge asked her, do you know who the father is? And she said, yeah, I do. And I still talk to him now. Yeah. And it's like, and then it's like, it was one of those things where it's like, okay, but that's not what my topic is. I just kind of wanted to get your response.
No, hold up. Before you say anything else, hold up. Okay.
Yes, I said that the judge asked her.
Listen, no. She did not even receive a slap on the wrist. She didn't receive anything. There was no repercussions to that. What should have been is that she should have been ordered to pay that man back. At least, something should have been done. Well,
right. The sad thing is she probably doesn't have anything. That's usually the case. People who do that usually don't have anything. That's why they're trying to get something from somebody else. And then you just have to be the one. It's like, the system claims, okay, we're not perfect, but you just can't get away with that. And let me just tell you this, what my other guest said. My other guest, before we kind of had to go off air, for me to fully respond to him. But his first response was, well, it's not the woman's fault. It's the law's fault. And said, okay,
really?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, it's the fault of the law because she went to the law, and the law was supposed to be the one supposed to check before they sentenced him and did him through that. And he had a point, but then I said, there's this law that says, but had it not been for what she did, they would not have had to sentence him. So, we had a.
But okay? I'm perplexed about that because I'm not sure if the law orders a blood test or if it's done at the request of someone.
Well, this already happened, and you and I are sitting here hashing it out. The point is, we don't, we can't fix it now. But the point I'm making is, his opinion was it wasn't the woman's fault at all. And again, I had to bite my tongue and put a paper clip on my lip, to not respond to him, because again, I'm not the judge and I'm not trying to sentence anyone, but you can't say she can't take, responsibility for that, because I think, she had the responsibility of knowing, but then let's just end that, because this can go on.
Okay.
And, it happens all the time. Okay. There are all kinds of, I follow YouTubers and, other people who talk about this kind of behavior. Particularly for women. Of course, men have to be responsible as well. We should be more responsible to not get ourselves in those situations. I'm saying us, not because it applies to me, but, because I am a man and I can relate. But I think there's something needs to be done about people who falsely accuse people and then just get to walk away. That just should not be, that should not be the case. But we're going to stop that, and we're going to count to 9, not 10. We're going to count to 9 and take a half of deep breath, and we're going to get on to the subject. Okay, the subject is, and then we still have a little time, and we're going to stay with our time. We can do it fast. We can do what we call rapid fire. Roe versus Wade is up for overturning, and they're going to try to overturn Roe versus Wade. And I am going to give you my perspective, which I gave to my other guest, but you don't know what it is. My audience knows what it is. I'm going to add a little more to it, so there's going to be something added to my perspective. But I want you to tell me your thoughts about Roe versus Wade and having that ruling overturned.
My thoughts are that it should not be overturned.
What?
Yeah. Well,
What?
Listen.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I need to make sure. So you're saying it should not be overturned. I know. I just want to make sure. You're saying it should not be overturned.
I think it should stay right where it's at. I do. You asked me for my opinion.
I'm waiting for it.
I'm giving you my opinion.
Hold on, let me unfold my arms. No, I'm gonna keep them folded. Go ahead. Go on.
I believe that it should stay where it's at. I think that because of we're dealing with a lot of extremes. Okay, can it be curtailed? Maybe. But
can it be what?
Curtailed, maybe tweeted some. Okay. But
you can't use big words with me. Okay. So what you said is, can it be modified? Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
So what I'm saying, what I'm looking at, we have so much in this country now. I'm telling you. And then, if you had asked me this in the early '90s, I would have, I would have told you straight up, no, nope. In the '80s, no. What I've learned over time, I begin to look at some things, and what I begin to see. I don't know if you remember, or even if you knew. I worked at across from the hospital, and on the 7th floor, they had what they call crack babies. And these babies at that time, were, if they lived 3 years, they did well. So they had a lot of people. They was trying to get people to come adopt these babies. They wanted to put them in a home. They wanted to put them with someone so that, their little time here on earth was, kind of in an environment where there's love and there's some affection. What I saw when I saw those children, I couldn't do it. And I cried because
what is it that you couldn't do? You couldn't do what?
Well, I couldn't adopt one and take them or take one home with me, and knowing that they were going to die in such a short period of time. So I began to think about that thing, and during that time, we don't want abortion, better, But I thought about that thing. I said, look at these little babies. These are crack babies. These are babies that are crying on a consistent basis because they need crack in their system. Okay? Their mothers were crack addicts. And so it was passed on to the child in their womb. So here's babies that's coming in, and they're not crying for milk. They don't want a bottle. They want crack. I began to think about all of that and the pain and suffering that these babies came into the world to die in pain and suffering. That touched me. And I began to think about that. I'm like, if we're going to legalize abortion, these are the people we need to target. I'm thinking about all of that. Our jobs as Christian, I'm a Christian, and so our jobs as Christian is not so much to make somebody have a baby that don't want it, blah, blah. We are getting so upset about someone having an abortion, but we don't care about a person that's on the corner that's hungry, that's starving. I won't even say a person, a child.
Are we getting off subject a little bit?
Maybe.
Yeah, let's try to stay on, because I promise you I'm going to give you your time, and I don't want to go over. Well, it is, but I want to. I want to stay on. I want to stay on topic.
Let me say what I'm saying. No, because this is the same thing. If I don't have the love to take care of a child that's here in this world, If I can't be compassionate enough to have on a 12-year-old child that's here, that's hungry, that's starving, I don't have that kind of compassion toward him. But I'm going to fight for a fetus in the womb. That maybe it could have been someone that suffered some kind of rape or whatever, and that is unwanted. He's coming into the world in rejection and all of that because that woman says, I don't want this baby for this man. I don't even know him. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I hear stuff, and I don't want to use the word contradictory, especially with you. But yeah, okay, because we can't change what is considered right and or godly. God says He gives life and He takes it away. Correct? Mm-hmm. That's what we've been taught anyway. Mm-hmm. And just because, someone has a misfortune, as you mentioned, if they're sexually violated for whatever reason, I'm not sure if that's an excuse to bend the whole rule just because of an exception.
One exception? We're not talking about one.
I'm not talking about one either. I'm just saying an exception. Life is life. And we're not the ones to make that choice. So, because I don't want this to sound like we're in an argument. I get your point, and you already made your say. You says it should be overturned. You said it should be or should not be.
Should not be.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's why I had to catch myself. You said it should not be. Well, again, as I said to my last guest, for the sake of time, I'm going to give you my perspective now. And I'm almost shocked, that you said it should not be overturned. Not because I'm judging you in any kind of way. For some reason, I just thought maybe you would be a little stronger on it. And I'm not going to love you any
I am
more
strong
or
on
less.
it.
Oh, no, I know you are. I thought you would be against it, saying that it should be overturned. But let me just and I asked my other guest in a different way. I started off with saying a right to choose, and then I went on with the abortion thing, because they're kind of sort of different but in the same, because the right to choose and then an abortion for a different reason is something different. And again, I wanted to talk with a male first and then a female, because I didn't want to have two males talking about what a woman should do. But anyway, back to my point. This is my spiel, and I really do. I'm not going to take a side, because I can see both sides clearly, and I'm going to argue both sides, in that I am more so respectful and considerate of pro-life, in that I'm not the one who can start, I'm not the one who can. I don't give life, I don't take it away, and I don't think we're supposed to take lives. The word we learned says thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill means thou shalt not kill, period. So I get that. But then again, a woman, in terms of society is concerned, maybe a person doesn't subscribe to a religious belief as we do, or some other people, and they may not want to go by that and may not want to subject their mind, body, and soul to something because someone believes a certain way. So I can understand how, we can be spiritual or religious and want to, respect and preserve life in that respect. But then, a person, you shouldn't be able to cut my arm off because you think my hands are too big or too small. You shouldn't be able to vote on that. If it's my body, I should be able to decide what happens to it, if it's a life or not. Then if there's I should be able to answer to the creator or my own conscience, in my own way. And let me deal with it. You don't be the judge, of me. So, but this is what I thought of. I thought the word should be, as you said modified. And I agree. I want to throw in the word compromise, because there are cases, as I mentioned to my other guest, with technology now, you can see if a child may or may not be, developing properly, and sometimes people don't want to deal with that, and they don't want to bring that, and it's nobody's fault, as to why. Life is life, and I get that. But to have that choice, if you want to go with a baby that may have a defect for whatever reason, maybe you should have that as your choice or as your right. And as you mentioned, a sexual violation, or for a woman's health, if she's going to risk her own life, by going through with a pregnancy, maybe she should be able to. So I respect those that want to overturn it and say absolutely, abortion is not right and you shouldn't do it. And then I can see the side where people say, no, I should have the right to do that. So I'm not going to again take a stance, but I really think in terms of reviewing that process, maybe it should be considered modified, and we've got to compromise. You just can't say, okay, far left or far right. It's one or the other, and we've got to find a way to compromise. And that's just going to be my spiel, and I'm not gonna keep holding you. But what do you think of that? What do you think of a compromise? You said it already, but
yeah,
I think that would be the best answer.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think that if we're for a woman to have a right to her own body, what she wants to do with her own body or whatever. And then I know you said it is a life on the inside, but then when you got those different circumstances, you brought up about medical problems or whatever, there are reasons. And then I look at, like the state of Tennessee had proposed to do away with birth control and all of this. And and I'll say this as Christians, because most Christians are pro-life, okay? But I will say this.
Most of the real ones. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
I'm just messing
okay, well.
I didn't mean that. I was just being sarcastic.
It's okay. It's okay. The thing is, if we were doing, we want to punish them. We want to, I think it's Texas that was saying, giving these people life sentences for having an abortion. Okay, but what we're doing is, if as Christians, we should be taking preventive measures, not just telling folks, well, you gotta hate it. We should be out teaching people why it's important that they abstain from sexual activity, giving them options. Yeah, I know, but I mean, look at us. Our whole society breeds sex from children, babies, and daycare know about all this stuff. But anyway, I think that if we got back to basics, then we'd be able to say something. But we ain't doing our part. Okay. We're not doing our part.
Listen, I'm not contesting anything you're saying. And
I know it sounds like that, but it sounds like I'm like. But I'm making a point because I've had to talk to people. I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing? As the body of Christ, what are we doing? If we're saying, well, they shouldn't be killing babies, well, what are you doing to help them? Maybe they don't know any better. What are we doing? There are some people. I talked to a girl one night. I was at went to a hotel, checked in. She was sitting in the lobby. She and I, started talking, and God began to have, I was actually ministering to this girl. I didn't even know who she was. God told me her baby's name was. I'm talking to her. She's sitting there crying because she was contemplating an abortion. Her and her boyfriend broke up. She's young. All she knows is that she's got to raise this baby on her own. Her parents, she's already been kicked out of home, and it's just all kind of stuff going on in her life. So I'm talking to her, but she changed her mind that night about having an abortion. And she told me when we finished the conversation, she said, I was going to have an abortion, but I think I'm going to have my baby. So if we do our part, oftentimes we can save those babies' lives.
Maybe you should have been there a few months ago and maybe prevented her from even getting in that position. Where were you then?
I was in Miami. How about that? And I was in that, and this young lady was in a.
No, I'm saying, where were you before she got in that condition? I'm just being sarcastic.
I didn't know her. I'm telling you, I was in Miami. She was in Georgia.
Okay, I'm just messing with you.
But suppose somebody would have told her about it. Maybe she was just misguided, or a misguided child. My first child was born out of wedlock. I mean, I was not married. I had a baby at 19 years old, you know, and I decided to have my child, even though his dad was acting half crazy. I decided to have my child because, I mean, that's what I wanted. And I could have went the other direction, but that wasn't what I wanted.
And you have no regrets?
I have no regrets whatsoever.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to go ahead and end on that note because I may need you back, and I don't want you to say, no, I kept you too long. You know, this is a subject that's, you know, in the news, and it's, you know, it's up for discussion, and it's up for, you know, they're looking at, you know, overturning it. And it is something that everybody can relate to simply because, you know, we're all humans. We were all, you know, a fetus at one time. And, you know, those that are here, for the most part, are glad we're here. And, you know, an abortion could cause some of us to not be here.
Exactly.
So it's something everybody can relate to. And as much as I'd love to be far right or far left on that subject, I really have to take a neutral position and just say, okay, I'm not going to say one way or the other, but at least let's talk about some modifications first, some compromising first to see how. And you made a good point in saying that maybe we need some education ahead of time. But I will say this before I go: I don't think abortion should be a means for birth control. I just don't think that. No, you just can't
not
do
for
that.
Birth control. No, I don't. No.
Yeah.
We know where birth control came from. We understand why it came into existence.
Well, let's save that for the next live stream because we could be on way past the time. Let's leave that one alone. But it's a good one though. We'll talk about that one later.
But go ahead. It's a good one. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate it so much. You take good care of yourself. Do me a small favor, okay?
What's that?
Find somebody you need to say I love you to, and don't just say it, and show it. And you know what I'm going to ask you for in particular? I need special prayer for the next, let's see, for the next 6 days. I need you to just turn to the east or the west, whichever is your favorite, and then just say, I know, right? Special prayer for me, okay? I need it. And I believe, you know, many things, most and all things of, you know, the Bible then says we're two touch and agree. We can't touch, but we can touch via this phone right now. Just be in prayer for me, you know, that God will give me the spirit of discernment, and that, you know, that his will be done in my life on a few situations that I've got going on. And I'm not embarrassed to ask for prayer, especially for my good friends and prayer warriors who I know can knock on the door and get an answer. So thank you in advance for that. I love you. I appreciate you. If you need me, I'll call you, okay?
Oh, great. Good night.
All right. Bye.